Okay, so my name is Joanna Misztal-Radecka, and I am a PhD student in the field of computer science, and also I work as a senior data scientist at Ringier Springer Polska. And I would like to present our work, which we did with my supervisor Bipin Indurkhya for this workshop. Okay, so first of all, let us start with, let us consider the standard approach to training a recommendation model, in particular for the collaborative filtering setting, where we have an input of user and item rating matrix, and we aim at predicting the ratings for unknown records. And typically this procedure is performed by optimizing a global goal function, which is based on the global error between the true and predicted rating values. And this global approach is performed on multiple stages. So first of all, during the model training, where we tune the model parameters, then for the hyperparameter tuning, so on the validation set, as well as during the model selection, in particular for the AutoML approaches. And as we all know, at least in this workshop, such a global optimization approach works fine for the majority of cases, but it has several trade-offs, and it may cause disparities on for various situations. For example, we may have the graveship users who have different interests than the majority of them. We also have the cold start problem when we do not have enough information about particular items or users. And such approaches may also be prone to popularity biases, as well as may not work well for some minority groups. And finally, the changes in the user's interests may also cause the underperformance for particular cases. So all these situations may lead to the disparity in error distribution, which is not captured well by the global optimization approach. And moreover, in combination with the black box design of most of the recommendation models, such methods may lead to undetected biases that are encoded in the model. And accordingly, a lot of research interest has been focused on the idea of detecting such hidden biases. In particular, most of these approaches focus on evaluating and detecting unfairness or disparities for some selected protected attributes that are considered a priori. So in particular, some works focus on analyzing the disparities based on users' demography, the disparities in the model performance, also for particular attributes of the items. And as we could see in this year's conference, for the geographical imbalance of item. Moreover, there are some works that consider the combinations of user demography and some attributes of the items. For example, where the authors consider the disparity for predicting the ratings of female students for the technical courses on the university. However, we note that in most of these cases, the unfairness and fairness is evaluated based on one type of attribute that is considered sensitive and which is selected a priori. On the other hand, there is a lot of work on which applies the post hoc interpretable models to approximate and explain the decisions of a recommendation system. However, in most of these works, the explanations are focused on the decisions of the model. So why particular items were selected or what led to given prediction, but they do not explain the errors of the model. So not when the model does not perform well. So accordingly, we define the goal of our research to detect and explain the biases that are caused by the combinations of user and item attributes without any a priori assumptions about what these attributes may be in a given case. So more precisely, we aim to detect the combinations of attributes for which the prediction error is significantly higher than for the other cases. And our proposed approach consists of a decision tree, which is trained to detect the bias in error distribution of a recommendation model. And more precisely, we use the chi-square automatic interaction detection tree for a regression problem. This approach was proposed by Gordon Cass in 1980. We trained this model to identify the differences in metric distribution for combinations of attributes, while the explainability of the model is provided by analysis of the detected tree rules. And let me explain this approach on a simple example where we have a table with user and item attributes associated with given ratings and the prediction error of an arbitrary recommendation model. So we use the information about user and item attributes as the input variables for our model. And we aim at predicting the prediction error as a target value. In the child tree approach, first we iterate over all the attributes. So for example, for the item gender, and we calculate the statistical significance for the difference in metric distribution between all pairs of categories. And next, the pairs of categories of given attribute do not have any significant difference in the metric distribution, so in the error, are merged into one category, and this procedure is repeated for the new set of categories. Next, we select the attribute which has the most significant difference in metric distribution. So we do so by comparing the adjusted p-value. And in this case, this would be the item gender. And we select this attribute for the next split in the tree, such that the split is performed for into the categories that have significantly different error distribution. And this procedure is repeated recursively for each node until no further splits can be made, and the stopping criteria are defined by the alpha value of the statistical significance, as well as we can define the minimum node size and the maximum depth of the tree. And one question that may arise is why we chose the older and less popular child algorithm over the more popular card decision tree. So there are some significant differences. First of all, in child, the stopping conditions are based on statistical significance in the error distribution, so it does not require any post-pruning to detect the significant splits. And moreover, it enables splitting into multiple categories, which provides a better interpretability. But we need to keep in mind that this approach requires the categorical independent variables. So if we have any continuous attributes, that should be first bucketized. And in general, while the card models are popular for classification and prediction problems, the child method is more suitable for detecting the difference in target distribution, which is exactly what we aim to do. And for some practical recommendations, we note that the statistical test should be selected adequately to the metric distribution. It's also worth noting that complexity may increase when there are many attribute values, so it's better to use wider categories. And in the evaluation procedure, we aim at verifying if the proposed method is capable of detecting more severe disparities than the single attributes that are usually used for evaluating fairness and detecting biases. And we use the popular movie lens dataset, considering both user and item attributes, as well as some implicit user activity and item popularity features. And we performed 2 experimental tasks to detect the disparities in the rating prediction in terms of mean absolute error. First, we used synthetic recommendations with some simulated biases, and next we focus on analysis of popular collaborative filtering algorithms. And we performed this analysis for both train and test errors. So in the simulated example, we have the rating, the generated prediction, which considers the true rating and adds some generated noise, and the noise is generated from a Gaussian distribution where a perfect model would have the zero mean and variance, while we generate this error with different parameters for particular attributes. And in particular, we consider 2 types of unfairness that were previously defined in the literature. First is value unfairness, and next is the absolute unfairness. And for the value unfairness, we consider a recommender which systematically underestimates the ratings for female users and thriller movies. And absolute unfairness is considered to be, the predictions are less accurate for the old crime movies. And the output of our algorithm is the generated tree structure, as well as the distribution of the metric, in particular leaves of the tree. And in these cases, we can see that the model has properly detected the biases that were that were generated for this dataset in both of the cases. Next, we analyze the disparities detected for particular collaborative filtering algorithms. In particular, we verify how the minimum and maximum error in detected leaves changes with in detected nodes changes with the depth of the tree. And we note that the biases are more severe for deeper levels of the tree. However, the maximum error does not increase above the 3rd level, but the minimum error changes with the deeper levels of the tree. Next, we analyze the distribution of detected leaf errors for different combinations of input attributes for all the models. And we note that in most of the cases, including all types of attributes, so item, user, and activity-based, results in the most significant differences in disparities. And the disparities are higher than for one type of features. And next, we also compare the global error and the error in particular nodes for both the train and testing error for all the models. And we make particular observations about different types of algorithms. First of all, the KNN model has the largest difference between the global train and test error. And we also can see that it has the largest test error in some of the nodes. Moreover, the NMF model overfits for some nodes in the training set as it has very low error for them. And we also observe that co-clustering has the lowest difference among the error values in nodes. So it's the metric is the most consistent for this model. Next, we take a closer look for particular trees generated for 2 of the models. And we observed that there are different types of biases detected for these algorithms. First, there is the demography bias. So the predictions for female users are less accurate in some of the attribute combinations. Also, there is an item attribute bias related to the year of production. We can also see the user activity bias, which has impact on the matrix factorization method, as well as item popularity bias for both of the cases. Moreover, we can analyze the highest error detected for the leaves in the tree. And we note that for NMF, the highest error is associated with the latest movies and the lowest activity of the users. While for KNN, the highest error is for unpopular items and female users. Also, we can take a look at the least error for these cases. And for NMF, the smallest error value is for old movies and male users. And for KNN, this is for old popular movies. So to summarize, we observed that a globally average metric does not detect all the disparities and does not sufficiently describe the error distribution in for recommendation models. And in particular, we note that the distribution may be different for particular combinations of attributes rather than single features. And the proposed methods detected these inequalities for particular combinations that are more severe than the single attributes. And moreover, the interpretable post-hoc approach provides explainability for the detected errors. However, it's worth remembering that such a post-hoc approach detects the correlations between the features and error distribution rather than the cause of disparity. As future work directions, we would like to further investigate the biases detected for different types of models, for different metrics and datasets. And we are also going to apply some of the biasing techniques for improving the results of these discriminated cases. Thank you, and if you have any questions.